The French Revolution was one of the fastest and bloodiest revolutions in history, and we are here to tell you about the French Revolution in plain English.
The old regime was the social and political system of France from the 1500s up until the Revolution. It had a social hierarchy that dictated if you were rich or poor, if you had power or not. The first estate was the royal family and the clergy, or the church, in France. In that period of time, everyone was very religious. There was no belief in science and almost no belief in doctors. You would just pray for your well-being. It was also said that the king was chosen by God. Therefore, the king had most of the power, and you could not question the king. The people in the first estate lived more than comfortably. The second estate was made up of aristocrats or noblemen. They were wealthy landowners who were also very rich. They had many of the benefits the first estate had.
The third estate is made up of everyone else, from the middle class to the peasants working in the farm. The power of the third estate wields not much, although they do make up most of France. The third estate pays all the taxes and does all the work, and are usually hungry, but receives significantly less than the first or second estate. During that time of the revolution, each estate only had one vote. If the third estate wanted a new law but the first and second estate disagreed, then the third estate would not get what they want. The third estate got tired of this and left the estate general and formed the National Assembly. The king was not pleased about this, and on June 20th, 1789, he locked the National Assembly out of their meeting room, causing them to go to the tennis court to meet. There they vowed not to disband until there was a new constitution that limited the power of the king. This oath came to be known as the tennis court oath.
On July 14, 1789, the people of France gathered at the Bastille and tore it down. The storming of the Bastille happened because it was a symbol of the unfairness of the way of ruling. It just so happened that a few days ago barrels of gunpowder was shipped to the Bastille, which made it a much more tempting target. There were only 7 people in the prison when they attacked, so they freed the prisoners and took the gunpowder for themselves. The guards were outnumbered, and the people eventually won. The storming of the Bastille was the turning point of the French Revolution.
During the last few years, there was a famine in France because the field had almost no crops. As a result, bread prices increased and the people were not pleased, mainly women, because they had to wait for hours and left empty-handed. They were angry at the shortage of bread because of the famine. On October 5th, 1789, a mob of nearly 7,000 women workers with pitchforks, muskets, and pikes marched from Paris to Versailles while chanting "Bread, bread." They were chanting for bread prices because it was so high. They stormed to the palace of Versailles and took the royal family to Paris. The Reign of Terror happened from September 5th, 1793 to July 24th, 1794. It was known as a period of violence and total death range in the tens of thousands. The first victim was King Louis. He had been imprisoned with his children after they separated from Marie Antoinette. After they took Marie Antoinette, her son Louis Charles had disappeared under suspicious circumstances. Afterwards, the Jacobins and the Girondins, the political parties of France, had made new laws, some that many people questioned, and unlike the king, they executed anyone who questioned their ways. The Jacobins were led by Danton and Robespierre. Later in the reign, Danton wanted to get rid of the executions but was tried and executed. Robespierre continued with the executions and finished the reign. The Revolution Tribunal ordered the execution of 2,400 people in Paris by July 1794. Across France, 30,000 people lost their lives. Now let's talk about Napoleon. He was a French military leader who rose during the French Revolution and led several successful campaigns. Napoleon was the Emperor of France from 1804 till 1814 and again in 1815. Napoleon dominated and won many of his wars he was in, rapidly gaining control of continental Europe before his ultimate defeat in 1815. He was one of the greatest commanders in history.